Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I'm going to do a disassembly for you on this little guy. This is the Benchmade Knives Saibu. So we'll start off by showing off that it is pretty much centered, which is good. The action on it is okay. Actually, it's pretty droppy. That's good. And there is some stick on the lock, but hopefully that's something we can address with a bit of lubrication. So my goal is to get it back into this state of affairs. Now, there are a couple of ways I could disassemble this knife. I mean, one of them would just be to, well, take the whole damn thing apart, unscrew every screw, etc. And you know what? That could work. I could make that happen, but it also has the downside of there's just a lot more disassembly to do. And the axis lock mechanism can be a little bit fiddly, so instead I'm going to do this in the way that I tend to like doing Benchmade axis locks. In that I'm going to go on ahead and disassemble it in the style of an integral knife. So I've gone ahead and I popped out the pivot here, and I'm gonna go and press it out. I'll use this little watch spring bar tool. If you're ever curious about any of the tools I'm using during my disassembly process, go ahead and check out nickshabazz.com/tools. And that will show you everything I got going on. So you can see here that by pressing out at the bottom of this, I'm going to be able to press out this little pivot entirely. Then after a certain point, it'll come loose here. Come on. There we go. And then at that point, I can just pull the blade right out of there. And all that we have left in here are a pair of phosphor bronze washers. So at this point, the handle is basically, there's no reason to take this handle apart at this point, right? I mean, the axis lock thing doesn't really need to be serviced unless you break an omega spring, which does happen. There's really no need to service this axis lock at all. It's going to be fine, and we can lubricate the parts that could use some lubrication anyways, and that there's no issue. But the parts that get gunked up, these interior surfaces here, the pivot itself, and then these washers, I can address very easily from where we are right now. At some level, it feels a little less pure. I don't freaking know. That's sounding Voldemort-y to me, but whatever. Nevertheless, it feels a little bit less than doing the full takedown, but at the same time, the full takedown on these can be such a pain that, if I can avoid it and get the same results, I'm happy about that, right? So there we go. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and pop these guys loose. All right, let's go ahead and continue. I just used a Q-tip that was covered in alcohol and just cleaned out the inside there. Now, cover this spot in alcohol as well, just 91% isopropyl. Clean this whole area off. This is fresh from the factory, so it's not dirty particularly, but, nevertheless, there can always be some improvements, right? Clean this off again, just fresh from the factory, and then clean off the pivot here. But the knife was running completely dry as it stood, and that's not necessarily the best thing. It can be fine, and some people believe that knives should be run dry, but I'm not some people. So, well, I am some people, but I'm not that some people. So now we get to the point where we have to put everything back together. One thing that's important to keep in mind is that this pivot has a D shape. There is a flat area on the pivot here. I need to make sure that that pivot gets put into the right position. So I just do this. I push a little bit, and I get it so it's partially seated. Now, the next step is going to be to get this guy so it is just barely flush with the inside there. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of lubrication on the inside of the liners here, just to make my life easier. I'm using knife pivot lube here because it is very nice for washer-based actions. And there we go. So that'll make things easy. And then actually I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit right onto this pivot here. That'll allow me to move things through effectively. Next step is going to be to put this guy into the blade. One way to do this is by dropping one of the washers on there first. So if I do this, I should be able to kind of spear the washer with this little, because right now, if you can see in there, I have a little tiny bit of prominence of this guy standing up there. So what I'm going to do is just drop that washer onto that area. This is not necessarily crucial. You can kind of sandwich the blade between the washers, but there is an advantage to doing this in that you have one less item in play. If you can get one of the washers out of the situation to start with, that makes it a little bit easier. That means that now all I have to do is take this guy. I'm going to apply a little bit of lube to the inside of this, as well as a little bit up to the top here, as well as, while I'm thinking about it, a little bit on the back side. I am over-lubricating this knife, but that's what I do. I over-lubricate things. Not like professionally, but as a hobby. I live a strange life. Anyways, so now what I can do is just press it in like this. Now I need something or another to press that through the rest of the way. One of the things that works very well for that is a business card. So we'll go ahead and use that. Hey, is that a plug for his Instagram page or a legit bot? We'll never know. But anyways, I'm just going to use this business card here to press this washer into the position it kind of needs to be in. I'll go ahead and make sure the blade gets there as well. And just sort of pressing. It's pretty impressive what I'm doing right now. Get it? Impressive? No? Okay. So right now what I've got here is actually exactly what I want. I have the washers aligned. I have the blade in there. And so what I'll do is I'll press up from the bottom here. And I'm going to retract the axis lock. Retracting the axis lock allows it to shift into whatever position is needed. And then I can press this the rest of the way through. Confirm that both of my washers are trapped as they need to be, speared around the axis, or around the pivot, that is, and then I'm actually good to go. So all I need to do now is retighten the pivot screw. That went maybe a little smoother than it will the first time you try it, but there is a skill to it, and considering I'm not a brilliant man and I've mastered it, I think you're going to be okay. So, there we go. Did I do this backwards? Did I switch? No, it's probably the case that the show side is smooth. Who knows? Either way, shouldn't matter too much. So right now I've got this over-tightened. Yeah, that's over-tightened. Let's go ahead and under-tighten it a little bit, or less tighten it. That's nice. Okay, right now I have some lock stick on the axis lock bar, but the thing is that's now going away because there's lubrication on there. That's good. We are dead centered. Now is there blade play? Holy crap. We are dead centered with no blade play and a nice, easy drop-shutty action. I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit more lubrication right on the top bar there. And I'm actually going to do that using a slightly different oil. I'm going to switch to a 20 or an 85 weight nano oil that will stay in position maybe a little bit better. Just go ahead and slide that in there to clean off the existing. And that way, hopefully, that'll knock down on some of that stick there. Just pop that on there. And actually, while I'm at it, I can do a little bit right there. Beautiful. Now, when I slide this along, it should pick up some of that lubrication. Now, even if I flick it out there, yeah, it disengages easily. Wow, that went well. That went really well. Holy crap. I'm pretty happy about that. So anyways, there you go. That's your Benchmade Saibu, fully disassembled and maintained and in great condition now. Holy crap, that was easy. And I'm going to go on ahead and buy a lottery ticket because, yeah, cool. Not so often they go that smooth. And mostly I'm going to hope that you have yourselves just an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.